Welcome back to the Too Much Hockey Podcast presented by Kentwood Ford. I am your host, Joshua Marshall, and got my co-host with me this evening. We got Phil Stockley. Phil, how's it going?
Buddy, not doing too bad. Like we were just talking about before, I was out in the garden all day shoveling some black dirt and getting stuff ready for spring because spring is in full flight here in Edmonton. So, how
Uh,
are you doing, bud?
yeah, no, it was good. The last couple of days, pretty hot. Work's good. Life's good. We got our minor hockey announcements out. Elliot Friedman announced those the other day. So, bunch of kids pretty happy. So, can't really complain with that. So, really excited to we're, as we always are, excited to put smiles on kids' faces. So, and yeah, so just that. And no one really came to listen to us banter back and forth of what our days are like. Obviously, they came to listen to, which is going to be a great interview with Calgary Flames forward Kevin Rooney, aka the Roon Dog. Um, so we won't waste any more time, and we'll get to that interview now. I guess, but before we get to it, Phil, you're pretty excited for this one, aren't you?
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's always good to, get current players on to see what the atmosphere is like around the league because, as fans and media members, you don't really know what it's like to be in that room and be a player on the ice. And, it's a nice little inside look to how some of these guys got to where they get. And I just think it's really cool to hear some of their stories.
Yeah, for sure. So he's going to be should be a fun interview, and this interview will be brought to by our friends at Marlou Barbershop in Calgary. I'd like to thank them. They do our Flames report throughout the season, and without further ado, let's get to our interview with Kevin Rooney of the Calgary Flames right now. Mutts fans, our next guest is joining us for the very first time. He played with the Calgary Flames this year. He's played 330 games in the National Hockey League. He is from Boston. He also shares the same birthday as yours truly on a May 21st born. But we have Kevin Rooney, the Rune Dog from the Flames. Rooney, how's it going, buddy?
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on.
No, it's awesome to have you on. Finally, kind of connect this way. I know earlier in the year, and I again appreciate those kids when you came up and said hi to them earlier in the year. The parents and the kids still talk about it. It's a moment in a memory that they'll have forever. So I really appreciate you always doing that for us earlier in the year. And obviously, yeah, we wish we were playing in playoff hockey. I was kind of had a tough day the other day. I was just like, man, I wish you guys are still in the fight, but. How are things going otherwise with kind of being back home and family wise and guess kind of gearing down or getting ready for an off season as well too?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, obviously it was kind of tough at the end there just because, we put everything, our heart and souls into that kind of second half, Four Nations break on push there to make it in. And, we've coming out of the break, we felt like, 93 points was going to be it. And so we got 96 and it wasn't enough. So we kind of left it all on the line there at the end. But yeah, it's been good to get back home, see some family, and get settled back into the house, and start thinking about summer routine and where I'm going to go from there.
Nice. All right, well, we'll get into the rest of all that as we get through the pod, but we'll throw it over to Phil, who's our co-host here, and Phil will take it away with some good questions. Philly, go there you go, bud.
Yeah, we'll go to minor hockey and growing up in Massachusetts and stuff like that. But let's just address the elephant in the room here. Bosco did call you Rune Dog. Where did that come from? Where did the nickname Rune Dog come from?
So yeah, honestly, it started when I was a kid. Like a lot of my buddies growing up and coaches that I had, whether it be playing baseball or playing hockey, and always called me Rude Dog. And then as I got a little older, it just switched over to Runes, and so that's kind of what I heard for a lot of time, a lot of my early pro career, and then I think it was. I honestly don't know who brought it. It might have been Husk, honestly, and then everyone kind of started running with it. But yeah, obviously, a lot of the guys have a bunch of different nicknames for each other on the team. Weegs is kind of like the king of the nicknames. So for him, I'm Wayno for Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
So so I've had a lot of nicknames throughout the time, but Rune Dog's one I definitely like a lot.
Nice.
Yeah, and we were just talking before we recorded. I think I don't know what Bosco. You can remind people what game you were doing media for, and you actually referred to Kevin as Rune Dog to Huska, and the smile on his face when you said that was just priceless.
Yeah, well, you ripped the one in the morning skate. You ripped like top cheddar, and then you went out later that night and did it in the game. So as I usually do, I let the other guys like just kind of new to the whole media side, so I don't really want to step on toes. So I let all the other guys ask their questions, and if I can get one in at the end before Huska's done, I'll ask. So I did ask him. I don't know if you heard it when we asked him it, or if it got back to you some which way, but I just loved it because he smiled like ear to ear as soon as I said the runes.
Yeah.
So
I remember when you said it, but I didn't know that was you. I was like, man, this guy's got to ask more questions.
yeah,
I like where he's going here.
yeah, it was funny because we did the same for Nacho for Kevin for Joel Hanley, obviously a guy that you know very well too. But we did the same for him, and yeah, it was funny because I sent him a text after, and I was like, hey, I was just letting you know we gave you some flowers, and I guess he was listening to that press conference with his mom and his dad when he's driving back home after the game. So some good karma, I guess. But
Yeah.
what our podcast is about is just try to create those good, fun relationships and give you guys the flowers. I think a lot of the times when I listen to other press conferences, it's different in Calgary because I think the media people there are really really well received and they're pretty easygoing guys to deal with for my dealings. But
Mm-hmm.
I listen to some other markets where maybe the third and fourth line guys or some of the depth guys that are really important don't get a lot of love. So that's kind of where our podcast is created and making sure we shine the spotlight on you guys to because it's not about points and goals. It's obviously great to get those, but when you get some good blocks or good chemistry, good lines, just good things like that, it's good to kind of put some light on it. But Phil, sorry, I took this away from you there. Go back.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So again, like thanks so much. Like before we hit record, Kevin he took an opportunity to say hi to my boys who are they do currently play in minor hockey. So minor hockey in Alberta probably looked a lot different to minor hockey in Massachusetts growing up. What's your earliest memory of hockey, Kevin?
So yeah, I mean, I got on skates when I was 4. I don't really remember it at the beginning, but the team I was on growing up was the South Shore Kings, and the first memory I probably had was my dad was our coach of the team at the time, and we got to Mite Minor, which is what I remember it as. I don't know what they call it now. It used to go Mite Minor, Mite Major, Squirt Minor, Squirt Major, and so on. So yeah, so my dad was the coach, and I don't think we were allowed to check till Squirt. So we started a team at Mite Minor, and he got a call from one of our rival teams who we didn't know yet. And it was Jimmy Veazey's father, who I think is Jimmy Veazey as well.
Yes.
And he said, "Hey, we'd love to do an exhibition game and see if the kids can do checking." And my dad's kind of like, yeah, I guess so. I mean, the kids are mites. So that game, I remember just going out there and, we're all so small and no one's really getting hurt, but remember going out there and it being really physical. And then from kind of that first game against them through I went to high school, we were rivals, and that kind of set the tone for our minor hockey days against Jimmy Veazey's team.
So you played. It says you played in a championship game at Canton High School. How was that?
Yeah, that was good. So I did South Shore Kings up until I went to high school, and my brother was at Canton High, where I grew up was Canton, Massachusetts, and I was just pumped to be able to go and play for the high school team. That was kind of the dream growing up, is make your high school team, and college wasn't even really a thought then. So I was just kind of pumped to be able to maybe make the team as a freshman and play with my brother at the high school, which we'd never been able to do because of our age gap. So my freshman year, we had a really good team. We didn't make it too far, and then we made it, but we didn't go to the finals. And then the second year, we played in this, which was his senior year, my sophomore year. We played in the state championship at TD Garden, which was in 2009. And we lost, and we had a really, really good team. It was, team full of all seniors. My brother's buddies were the, kind of the best. Those guys really kind of showed me the way growing up. And then, so it was tough. It was really tough to not win it. And we didn't have a lot of guys coming back the next year. So that was the summer I kind of took, really, really serious. And that was the first summer I really dialed it in and did everything I can to try to help the team get back to that spot, which no one kind of predicted us to. A little bit like the Flame squad we had this year. No one kind of thought we were good. And, we ended up going all the way back to the finals and played the same team we lost to the year before and winning the state championship for the first ever state championship for our town. So that was kind of pretty special for me to be able to do that.
Nice.
So like it in here in Edmonton, like they have like hockey academies, like Vimy Ridge and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
where kids will enroll in that high school specifically for hockey. Was it like kind of like a similar thing?
No, so in Massachusetts, it's a little bit like Minnesota. If you have kind of an idea about that, like a lot of the kids, they grow up and they play for their town, which we call it towns. I think in Alberta, it's kind of just like it would just be like I don't know. I'm trying to think like Cochrane. What would Cochrane be?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it would be like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Canton was a town you play with your buddies at your high school, and Massachusetts high school hockey it's pretty good. It's not it's not the top of the line junior league or anything like that. So it was just fun to be able to go to school and then play hockey as well and have the students behind you at the school and whatnot, and you'd give out your jersey to different girls, and that part of it was just so much fun. And
There's a few
um
Rune Dog jerseys out there, eh?
yeah, there might be a few out there still. So yeah, that's kind of what I was at that time thinking. Like I was never there was no college. It was just go play with my brother and have fun, and that's kind of where what my thought process was there.
Were you a Bruins fan growing up?
Yeah, I was a big Bruins fan. I mean, we played so much hockey that we were never like going to a lot of games, but we love the Bruins. Yeah, I remember, just so many good years. Basically my whole childhood, kind of like as I remember, they were always in contention. So it was just super fun to always watch playoffs and just expect to be in the playoffs. And now playing, it's like wow, that's so impressive. What they were doing, because as a fan, you're just like oh, they'll be in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a little bit spoiled with the Boston sports growing up. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'll throw it over to Bosco here for a bit.
So college hockey, how was that? How was that experience? You played the 4 years there, and then would you say the difference between college hockey then to what it is now that you would understand from maybe your brothers or some other friends or family that are currently playing it when you played it?
That's actually a good question. I mean, I think, for me, like I went, did my backtrack a little bit before that. When I went to Canton that my junior year when we won the state championship, I had a really good year, and I had a coach from Northeastern like just come into the game who brought his son to the game, and he wasn't scouting or anything, and he just came up to the coach after the game and was like, "Hey, who's that kid? Like he's too good to be out here," kind of thing. And my coach was like, kind of introduced me a little bit. And then at that point I was like, wow, like, if this D1 coach is saying that, like, maybe it's an opportunity to go, be able to play college hockey, whether it be D3 or D1 or whatnot. So that's when I really started thinking, oh, all right, I'd like to play in college. And so I went to a prep school in Berkshire, Massachusetts. And it was a phenomenal school, like just super beautiful. And when I got to the campus, I was just like, all right, I'm coming here. So I had 2 good years there, and then I really didn't have any college offers or anything. So I got a call from the Providence coach, and he basically asked me to be a walk on the team. So I was like, sure. I mean, it's Division 1, like I gotta have to pay and take out some student loans or whatever, but I'm gonna play D1. And so I was ecstatic about it, and so that's how I kind of got to Providence and started my journey there or whatnot. So it was lucky because the coach who's still there, Nate Lehman, was bringing in his first recruiting class. So I was kind of one of his guys. Even though I was a walk on, I was still kind of one of his guys. So I got a little bit lucky, like, any player at my level would say now, like, you have to get a little lucky along the way and get a few bounces here and there. So yeah, so that's how I started my college career. But back to your question, sorry, I was a little long winded, but
Oh, it's
um, back to your question, I don't know if there's that much different. I mean, I know there's the new rules and whatnot, but I think, from a hockey standpoint, I think the talent and the skill level is getting, obviously getting better and better. And, you look at the Providence team that we were all grinders. Like we had, Brandon Tanev, Mark Jankowski, who played in Calgary, um, Steve McParlin, who is a grinder, Noel Achari, who's on Pittsburgh. He's a grind. Like the way we played was kind of, you know, the Calgary Flame style, I should say, a little bit. So I know Providence has gone a little bit different. They've gotten over the last couple of years. They've gotten some first round picks and whatnot, and they definitely have a lot more skill now. So it's fun to follow the program and still follow college hockey.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's been great breakdown. One thing that I've noticed when we post anything about you on our social media channels, you do like, and it's no surprise because obviously family members are going to be very supportive. But can you talk about the support you have from your family? Because every time we post something, if you're your brother or others, your family, cousins, uncles, your father, and whatnot. They're always giving you that love, but that support. And the reason why I ask that question is it's kind of that mentorship, like someone is going to help you along the way. That big support is going to be family. And there could be some great coaches that you've had too, but can you talk about the support you have from your family and how that's meant to you to get to where you've gotten to today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like my family, like big hockey family to start off with, and like growing up, I was kind of like one of the youngest out of all my cousins and my brothers and whatnot. So I was super lucky to be able to like kind of look up to everyone and see their path. Because my cousin Chris Rooney, who played at Providence, my cousin Joe Rooney played at BC. My brother Brian played at Stonehill, which is now D1. So like all these guys were older than me that were also my family. I was super lucky and fortunate to be able to, bounce ideas off them. And yeah, like for me, I've always kind of tried to keep my circle a little bit tighter as I've gone on and played in the NHL. And because, the family are the ones that really, care about all the achievements. And, some people, you see people come and go, and it's just easy to keep for me to keep the circle small. And yeah, that's why those guys are always probably liking your posts and whatnot. And they're my number one fans for sure, and they help me through the ups and downs of a long season, so which is huge.
Yeah, obviously, and it's tough because you do play away from home, and when you get to see them, and obviously when you guys get to roll through that New York area or the Boston area for those games, the Rune Dog jerseys are all full force, and
Yeah.
so it is cool. It's cool to see, and I respect that. Like because you are going to have a lot of people that come and go in your life, but the people that you're always going to have there is the family because they're there for obviously the right reasons, and they're not there for anything besides the full support. So and you're an easy guy to gravitate to because how great of a person you are, but also what you've turned yourself into in terms of playing and undrafted. Um, how did that go for you? Like, was because obviously when you're done college, you go over to the New Jersey Devils organization. Was there just great scouts that would have saw you, or just obviously just grinding and working your way to that? How did that experience and that opportunity come up for you?
Yeah. So once my college, it was kind of like where I was at in high school. Like I was like, when college is coming to an end, I'm like, what do I want to do, after college? And, started thinking about, whether I'm, maybe get a job. And I majored in finance at Providence. So I have the degree, and I was kind of, going back and forth. And I had, a couple East Coast teams reach out to me when my college season ended. And I was like, I'd rather just kind of stay at school and finish up my degree. And then, I was lucky to get a call from New Jersey to go play for their AHL team at the end of my college season. I'm like, wow, like there's no way I'm passing this up. So, yeah, obviously, sad news this year with Ray Shiro. But he was, the guy that brought me in there, and I'm always be thankful for a guy for him because he believed in me first, and he kind of let me get my foot in the door and show what I'm made of, and yeah, they let me come in and play 7 games, and it was just unbelievable because I was like, wow, I think I can play at this level type of thing, and once I left after those 7 games, I went home and I was like, wow, I have an AHL contract, and I'm like, I could play, a full year in the AHL, and like, I think I can do well, and came back the next year, and I was given a great opportunity. Sometimes you see it like guys on AHL contracts don't really, get the opportunity, even though they're talented players. So for New Jersey to kind of let me come in and be a third line center on that team the first year was huge for my development and confidence. So yeah, I was super lucky, coming out of college there.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, very sad to see Ray pass away, and obviously, emotional post that we saw earlier in that aftermath of that was a teammate of yours at currently, but even also in Blake Coleman, who owed a lot to him as well. And just the great things that have talked. Craig Button has been on our podcast a lot before, and he's talked about the Shiro family. Is there like one thing that you learned from him that you'll take with you for the rest of your life and able to pass that down to some other players, and also your own kids and whatnot that you learned from him?
Yeah, I think the story that kind of sticks out to me the most is, so after that first year when I left college, I played the 7 games. I came back for the next year. I was on an American League deal, and I was invited to training camp. And I got to training camp, and I was like, "This is great!" Like I get to practice with mix in with the NHL guys. And John Hines was the coach at the time, and um, he mixed the groups right up. And I know with Daryl it was different. Like when I came in, I was just like, "This is the team," and this is. So it was really cool to be able to go out there and play with like guys like Taylor Hall and all these different guys. So it was unbelievable to get that opportunity. And I didn't even think I was going to play. I was like, I'll just practice or whatever. And I got a text about from our Teamworks app or whatever that I was in the lineup for a game in Philadelphia. And I was like, wow, this is amazing or whatever. And so I play the game, and whatever, after the game they started making their first cuts, and so I was getting sent down, and Ray was meeting with me. He was like, I just said, thank you so much for like letting me play in a game. Like that was unbelievable. Like I thought that would be kind of it for me, like playing the NHL. And he was like, how'd you think you played? I was like, honestly, not that great. I wish I played better, but I know that I'll have a good year or whatever. He was like, what do you mean? I thought you played awesome. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, like, it's like, you just got to believe in yourself, like 100%, like you're going to play in the NHL. And I was like, kind of just at that point, like, this guy's crazy. Like, so I think after that, like going down, I was just like, it's about just believing myself a little bit more, like have a little bit more of a chip on my shoulder, have that confidence that I can play at this level. Cause before that it was just hope I can, make it and play pro. And so, yeah, that would be the one that stands out the most.
Yeah, it's such great advice. Even seeing what Joel Hanley kind of said earlier in the year, just once you find that self belief and belief in yourself, it's kind of nothing can take it away because you just have that internal belief. And you've gone on like Elliot Freeman. He came and met some of our kids last year in the playoffs that we work with in our minor hockey program, and the story he shares is just to play one game in the National Hockey League, you are the elite of the elite. And, you went undrafted, and someone that very well too. I don't know how much cross path you had with Vernon Fiddler during your time with the New Jersey Devils organization. But I grew up with Vernon, and amazing family, as you can probably tell and know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
went undrafted too, and look what he's done, and it's crazy what his son is doing right now, and it's an amazing, he's such a great kid. But it's just that belief you have in yourself. It's such a great thing. I don't know if you want to talk more a little bit about that, but I know if for a lot of kids listening, that's something you can take away from this interview in terms of just having that self belief. Because, and I've had it too with this podcast. At times, I'm like, I question my mental health. Is we do this for our mental health, and in connecting that way, it's important. because it's all about putting smiles on people's faces. And when you can put a smile on someone's face, and then let alone your own face too, it means a lot. So I know cheering you on and watching you, and to play 330 games and a lot more as we want and hope for you. It's cool to kind of see the belief that you have in yourself. Is there any players that you had mentors along the way once you made it to the NHL and had that great career that you continue to have?
Yeah, I mean, there was a bunch. I mean, a lot of different guys. Fids probably doesn't remember me, but I played. I'm pretty sure my first game was with him, and I played, I think, 4 games. My first little stint there. So you have to ask him if he remembers me at all, but probably not.
I think he does. Yeah, but
It's probably gonna be like that. Who's that scrub? But yeah, like my team in Albany, my first year in the American Hockey League was full of vets. It was kind of before. I don't even know. I think there was a vet rule, but it was way higher than what it is now, and it was all vets. Like they didn't have. I don't know what was. It was before they picked Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier and those guys. So they did. I don't know if they just didn't have a ton of prospects and they had a lot of vets. So I was super lucky to be able to like come in and play on a vet heavy team as a rookie. Like I loved it. Like every year now I'm like, I want to do rookie party again. I want to be a rookie. I want to be a rookie. Like it was the best. Like, cause these guys were just so good to me. They gave me such a hard time, but I like loved it. And guys that were on our team were, Luke Gazdick, who's on Sportsnet, who I absolutely love to this day. Like still a good friend of mine. Rod Pelly, who I'm not sure, if you're familiar with, like he was very similar to me. Like he didn't play as many NHL games, but he could have for sure. Like just such a workhorse. I think I can't remember his exact path, but he played a ton of pro games. We had, different guys, Carter Camper, Brian Gibbons, Andrew McWilliam, Scott Wedgwood, Mackenzie Blackwood. Those were our 2 goalies actually that now they're goalies in Colorado.
Yeah.
So like just super lucky to like come in and have a vet heavy team. And those are the guys I, looked up to. And now that I'm kind of the older guy, I'm like kind of like remembering like what those guys taught me. And, none of them were ever too hard on me, but they like kept me in line and, showed me the way. And I think that was huge, like just for, from a confidence standpoint to be able to come in and like, these guys are joking around with me and like giving me such a hard time. I'm like, they have to like me. Right. Like, I'm like, I don't think they're just going to give me shit if I'm not, I'm not a good guy. So like that helped me like settle in and get comfortable. And, I think, looking back, like my first year in Calgary, I think I wish I maybe had a little bit more of that. Like it took me a while. Like I'm a guy that like, once I'm comfortable, I feel confident and good about myself. And it took me a little while in Calgary to kind of gain that comfortability and that, confidence where, my teammates have, the most faith in me and whatnot. And I wish it came a little bit sooner, but hey, that's the way it goes. And you live and you learn, and hopefully it'll make me better for the next chapter of my career, whatever that is.
Yeah, for sure. Phil, do you have some more questions there before we go more?
Yeah, I was just gonna go back. So New Jersey, you played there for a few seasons. Take us through. Do you remember your very first goal in the NHL?
Yeah, it was on Cam Ward against Chicago, I believe. Yeah. So yeah, I was coming off the bench. My first 2 line mates were Brian Boyle and Drew Stafford. So I mean, like, talk about like 2 kind of legends. Like I'm like just super nervous to do anything ever like on the ice. So I was kind of mixing up between center and wing with Boyle, and one of our teammates was changing, and I was kind of waiting until like the last second for him to get to the bench to change. And he's like screaming at me. Boyle's like screaming at me, like, go, go, go. Like, you can leave a little early, dude. Like, it's all good. You're not going to get called. And Stafford made a great play around the D, kind of backhand. And then I came off the bench a little early, and the puck came right to the slot, second period goal. So it was a short change. And I just pounded it, went bar down. I think it was to make it like 4-5-1 or something. So the goalie kind of turned around, broke his stick over the post. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool goal, because it was kind of a snipe. Honestly, I didn't know where it was going, but it was a snipe.
It wasn't like an empty netter or like
No,
off of like 4 or 5 people in front and into the net. Yeah, for
no.
sure. Awesome. And then after New York or after New Jersey, you ended up going to New York. What was that like playing at MSG every night?
Unbelievable. Like to this day, I tell the guys like best place to play. I think actually in the one of our meetings this year, Husk was like, it was right before the Rangers. Husk was like, Roondog, where's the best place to play in the NHL? Like just in the middle of the meeting. I don't like talking in the meetings at all. So I was like kind of thrown off guard. And I was like, is this a trick question here or something? So I was like thinking I was gonna say the Saddle Dome first and then MSG, but then it just came out of my mouth. I was like, oh, MSG for sure. And so the boys were giving me such a hard time. They're like, finally spoke up in a meeting. So, but yeah, it's true
And you
though.
said the
Like,
wrong thing, eh?
yeah, no. No, they were like, if you said the Saddle Dome, I would have been so mad at you. So yeah, it was true though. Like it is like it's you got just like world class types of people there. Like behind the bench was like whether it be celebrities or models or whatnot, and the owners sitting back there. It's just a whole big spectacle, and obviously the arena is so cool. So to be able to suit up there. And I think it was when I got my 200th game, the boys were giving me a hard time. They're like, you got to go no Bucky now. Like, yeah, enough's enough, because I was wearing my helmet every game, and I'm like, no, I got to get more games. I got to get more games. And then I got 200. They're like, all right, enough of that. So yeah,
And it was it your second year with the Rangers? You guys had the deep playoff run?
yeah. So so after the first year was the COVID year. We had a really good team, and they made a coaching change in the summer, and we added a few pieces, and then yeah, we went on a deep run, which a lot of people weren't expecting, and yeah, that was probably the most fun I've had is being able to play in the playoffs. We won Game 7 at MSG in overtime, which is unbelievable. And then we won in Carolina in Game 7 in the next round. And then the conference finals, we lost to Tampa, but we went up 2-0 in the series, and we were right there. I think if we stayed healthy, we could have made it to the final.
Yeah.
Yeah, New York is definitely a bucket list place to visit. I couldn't imagine living there and the atmosphere it would have been for you guys.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, we lived right downtown in the city too, me and my wife. So it was unbelievable. Just every day, just people around and lots of things to do, great restaurants, and yeah, obviously became very close with a lot of guys on the team and the girls as well too.
Nice.
Um,
Bosco?
yeah, so move over to the Calgary Flames, obviously a team that we're close to and following, and you signed there. And obviously, great organization from on and off the ice and the community work that they do. Um, and you talked about the start of the interview, how much, this team meant it this year and going down from the Four Nations on how great it's been. Your time in Calgary, how much you love it there, and how much you want to be back. And if I'm assuming you do want to be back, can you talk about your time in Calgary and the desire to maybe help get through what you started with this organization too?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think every year that we've been in Calgary, we've like loved it even more and more. Like the first year, it was kind of just an adjustment. I know it was with the Wranglers a little bit, but hockey aside, it was just an adjustment. Being so far away from family and whatnot, and just trying to get comfortable. And I feel like I'm at my best when I'm just comfortable and I can just do my thing. And yeah, so it took me a little while to get used to it, but every year that I've been coming back to Calgary, I've loved it more and more. And like the people are so great, and um, it's a lot different than New York, New Jersey, where you're sitting in traffic every day, and it's going to take 15 minutes to get to the rink, 15 minutes to get home, and everything you need is going to be on the way. So it's just a really great place to live, but it's stress free as well. So which is huge for what we do. So and then obviously the fans are great. The fans are. I always joke with my buddies back home because they're like, how is it, playing in front of the, Calgary fans versus like New York fans? And I'm like, you know what? They're so educated that like at times it's like overwhelming because like you make a bad play, you can feel the crowd, go, oh, so whereas in New York, you just run around and hit people and they'll be like, oh, we love this guy. So it's crazy how different it is, but it was really, really special to play in front of just such a passionate and knowledgeable fan base as well.
And it obviously, yeah, you touched on a bit going up and down for the American Hockey League. And one of the things I heard a lot this year as I got there at the start of the year from people around there is that the attitude that you had in the American Hockey League was a very positive one and helping a lot of the players out. We made a post about that too. And this organization has a lot of bright players coming up in the future here, and a lot of them we got to see this year and over last year too. But can you talk about like what you've been able to kind of you obviously met and played with a lot of great players as you talked about, but the young group that this organization has coming up, and obviously at the end of the year there were some more players called up when the games finished off the way they did, but the bright future that this organization has and able to just pass that knowledge down to those younger guys that you had too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm happy to just play hockey. I love playing hockey, and that was the way it unfolded that year. And I had no, grudges or whatnot. I wanted to go down there and play the game that I love, and it's not for money or anything like that. So I was just happy to go down and meet a new group of guys and start to kind of feel comfortable and get my game back to where I knew it could be. And I hope that I can just do what I did when I was in New Jersey. Play well in the American League and get called up. And I felt like Calgary was honest, like New Jersey was. Like it was, if you're going to play well, you're going to get a chance to come back up. So there was no reason to go down and sulk, and it was more about just going down and starting to feel comfortable. And I had guys like Connor Zary and Wolfie. Those are the two guys I played with for my 3 years really, because they came up the next year. And um, Coronado obviously came in, and I was able to meet him. I didn't play with him a lot in the American League. But then there was other guys like Solo and D Simone, who's obviously not in the organization, but just great guys, great people. Clark Bishop, Brett Sutter, like two of my best friends now to this day. We still get the group chat going with them too, and Mitch McLean. And so it was such a good group of guys down there. And I think they surrounded, some good vets with, a really talented group of young guys. So it was pretty cool. Obviously Pelts too. I forgot about Pelts. He was with me the whole step of the road too.
You had Matthew Phillips on not too long ago.
Philly. Oh God, what a stud.
What instead of a player too. Yeah. It's kind of cool because like we're friends. I don't know if you've crossed paths. I know you guys wouldn't have played together, but Alexander Petrovic, he's with the Dallas Stars
Yeah.
now. And I know he was there with the Stockton Heat during the
Mm-hmm.
COVID flames, and ended up being a captain to start. But someone I grew up with, but it's cool to see in terms of, his last NHL game up to a couple of years ago was in 2019-20 season. And he pretty much spent like 400 games in the American Hockey League. And then the belief he had in himself to push through and play a game last year, but then play a lot of playoff games these last 2 years. It's nice to see that regardless of what the situation is, that there's always a path to believing in yourself to get back to where you want to. And you played 70 games this year and you played amazing. I thought, we were always supporting you and everything we could do. And it seemed like to me, I know Phil's got probably a lot of Flames questions, but one of the great ones I think I probably can bring up is that I've been fortunate to be around a lot of teams over the years, not as close as I would say this, but this seemed to be the closest team that I've ever come across. And speaking to the media people that have been covering this organization for 15 plus years, they said the same thing. Can you talk about how important and how strong and close this team was? And you hear like Weeks talking about the dinners that you guys would have and go out. Just everyone was together. Just what a good group it is, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that was something kind of we talked about the year before at the end of the year. Is like he's like, we gotta do more stuff as a team. We gotta do it. And boy, did we ever this year. Like it was constant. All right, here's another text. Team dinner in San Jose, team dinner here. So it was really good. It was awesome because there was no clicks. It was you show up at dinner, it's the dinner's at 5:30. We got a room blocked off or whatever, and you come in and you sit whoever you walk in with. You sit with whoever you walk in, whether that be, Clapper or, Raz or whoever it would be. At the end of the year, I was sitting next to Zane, so it was pretty cool. I was like, oh, this is great. I got to know this kid, and what a great kid, just sitting down at dinner and getting to know him. And teams in the past, like you just get to the city and you text your group like normally the year before, like me, Zari, Wolfie, like we would have a crew. Baller ended up joining it where we just go to dinner and like we just set up a text. And so it was good to, really get to know guys more than just, you know, at the rink for sure. So yeah, I think the leadership did a good job of one paying for a lot of dinners and and two just getting us together more because I definitely didn't pull my wallet out many times.
It's all good with that. So it's funny because during Four Nations we had Huska on, and I think he's an amazing coach. You could talk about him as a coach before I throw it back to Phil here, but I felt like I put a post up before the season started, and I felt you guys would be a playoff team because of a lot of the reasons that you said. It just knowing Bax and how great of a leader and a person he is, that Huberto and all the other guys would follow suit in terms of that too. But I felt to me, and I know it was a tough moment for you, that hit that you took in Vancouver. But Anthony Matha just came to this team, and he stood up for you, but stood up for the whole organization, the whole city. That I thought that was like, to me, when I told Huska this, is that once I saw that, I said, no one, you cannot bet against this team. And you guys, if you guys made it in, you guys would do serious damage in the playoffs. And I know that there's still very bright organization. We'll see what happens, but I don't know if there's an exact question in this, Rooney.
Yeah.
It's just, that was obviously, I know for us is, it's tough to see, but when you have that belief and you got back in the lineup and you made an impact in playing the 70 games you did, and the chemistry that you had with Hubert on the PK and just what he was able to do and coming back and just, again, I don't know an exact question, but
Yeah, no, I know. I think I know what you're getting at, but it was, yeah, I mean, like it was so funny, Mantha, like, so we had a little bit of a run in like a couple years ago when I was in New York, not me and him, but our teams, where we had a line brawl and I was kind of part of that. And he was on Washington, I was on New York, and it was after the whole Panarin thing where Tom Wilson, threw his head into the ice. So, like when we signed him, I'm like, oh man, like we kind of like gone out a little bit. This should be interesting. So the first day we get there for like captain's practices, Bax is just running some skates, and I'm skating around. I didn't get dressed in the same locker room as him. He came right up to me. He's like, "Hey, remember the line brawl?" And I was like, "Yeah, dude, that was unbelievable." He was like, "Man, wasn't that awesome?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was." So then right away, I was like, "All right, this is great. Like, he seems like a great guy or whatever." And um, when we did a little golf tournament at the beginning of the year, and I sat with him after, and we had lunch, and I'm like, this guy's a great guy. Like I was totally wrong in my assumptions on him before. It was all just based off, on the ice stuff. So when that happened, I was kind of, I went to the locker room and did all the testing and stuff. Obviously it was very scary, and had people reaching out to me and not whatnot, but I was right back glued to the TV. Like, I got to watch this game. And, to see him do that for me was something I'll never forget for sure. I remember just a lot of my buddies texting me, like saying, man, you got to get that Mantha guy a couple beers. And so I was just, from that day on, our wives became close, and it's, definitely a friendship we'll have for a long time. And I'm very thankful for what he did for me.
yeah, awesome. I mean, what a great player he is, Phil.
Yeah.
What did a guy like Ryan Lomberg do to this team? Like the guy is an absolute animal, will fight anybody. Um, just speaking about standing up for teammates, he just seems to be the epitome of that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, like this guy, like you have to almost be there to see like his impact, whether it be on the bench, in the locker room. It's nonstop and it's the same energy every single night, and that's the toughest thing about the NHL, and especially the Western Conference. That's which I learned pretty quickly when I came here. Like, it is hard. Like, it is, the travel's brutal. You're playing every other night. It's tough. Like, it's almost impossible to show up with the same energy that he did every single game. And whether he played 5 minutes or he played 12 minutes, his attitude was the exact same every game, and it was about the team and winning games. That was it. It was about doing the right things, and he was saying all the right things on the bench, whether it be late in a period, 1 minute left in the period. He's always saying the right things. He's always positive. And that's infectious. I mean, guys hear those things, and as the year goes on, it just becomes habit. It just becomes routine. And when we're off our game, it's right back to it. We're not playing bad. It's all confidence based, and it's something that the team needed. And credit to Connie to well, they knew him, the organization knew him, but credit to Connie for bringing him in because he was a huge part of this team this year.
Yeah, it's like a long road trip, late flight home. He's just going out at the back of the plane, yelling at the boys, or what?
No, he gets his rest. I'll give it to him. Like he disappears for a little bit. We're like, where's Lombi? But once you get to the rink on a game day at 5 o'clock or whenever you get there, it's business like, and until you leave there with him, it's the same every day. And I'm a guy that's great with communication, and so to have him on my wing was awesome because I love just being able to talk, and it settles the nerves down. It's just like taking a test in school. If you study, if you feel confident to go in, and that's kind of how I've been with my hockey career too. So I just try to keep talking to my line mates and stuff.
Yeah, he definitely drags the boys into the fight, eh?
For sure, like just for sure. And it's not even like, I mean, his play is awesome too. It's that I didn't even say it, get to like talking about his impact on the ice too. So he does a lot of good things for the team, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's like one thing like I would message Bosco like during like down the stretch here in the game. I was always like, man, that fourth line is back checking hard. They're skating, and it did definitely seem like the whole team was like bought in, and
Yeah,
and just like what you were just saying about like Lomberg, like we all got to see it on that the chase that show the chase,
yeah, they
and
did a good job.
I think you had a bit of a famous scene on that show, eh?
Yeah, that was good. That was nice. That was pretty cool.
You and Huska had a little moment, eh?
You know what too, like he got me again after that, which was wild. I forget where it was. It was after that came out too. Like he came in and kind of like looked at me. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone saw it. And then I was like, yeah, I was like look, shaking my head. And then it wasn't me. So I'm like, is he trying to get me again? Never brought that up to him.
Yeah, he could definitely tell in the press conferences that he liked you because there's a few others that we would had throughout the year, and he always talked about that a line is not going if the center's not going. So if the center's going, then the line can go, and he was always very complimentary to your play and to where you were at in terms of that. And I guess maybe the final one for me, I don't know if you have any more, Phil, but my yeah.
I got one more, but you go ahead.
So my final one is obviously it. We've seen what Connie's been able to do with this group, and Huska's been able to do with this group, and how much you want to be back. How much do you want to be a part of the solution going forward, and what Connie and Husk has been able to do for this organization and getting them to where they are and where they can go going forward.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, that was kind of like in my exit interviews, I was like wanting that was the point I wanted to get across. Sometimes you write a bunch of stuff down and then you get in there and it's just like you don't say anything. So I kind of try to simplify it this year and just express how much I wanted to be back. And I get it though, like when I was in New Jersey, I wanted to be back there and I ended up signing with the crosstown rival Rangers. And I remember playing the Devils for the first time and I held such a grudge and I ended up scoring and I was like I was so fired up, like stared down their whole bench. But now like looking back at it, it's like it wasn't the guys, like it's just a business. Like that's really what it comes down to. And it wasn't the coaches that I was staring down when I scored. It was just a business decision. So I've kind of come to terms with that a little bit as I've gotten older, but for sure had to let them know, where I stood and, where my family stood about coming back and, being a Flame again. So yeah, I love the direction the team's going in. Obviously Connie did a good piece of business the other day with getting Maddie signed up. So I think all the boys are really fired up about that for sure. So yeah, nothing but good things to say about the core group of guys and the young guys coming along. I really see this team as a team similar to Dallas, and that's the team that they can kind of idolize going forward.
Yeah, 100%. Phil.
Yeah, and I've been a Flames fan since I was a little guy. I'm a Flames. I grew up in like northern Alberta and Edmonton, and I'm a Flames fan just because I loved the reaction I got from Oilers fans when I said I was a Flames fan. So, as a Flames fan, man, like honestly, super proud of that team. Super proud of you guys for what you did this year. Just came up like not even a little bit short, it felt like. But yeah, you're I was just gonna ask like one more thing. Like is tell me about Dustin Wolf. Like this kid is the real deal, hey?
Yeah, yeah. And you know, I was super lucky. Like he was my goalie when I got sent down, and then when I was injured for that first half. Then I came back and he played like later in the year, and then I had him all this year. So he's basically been my goalie since I all my games I played in Calgary. So I've gotten to see him on a first hand basis. I remember like my first one of my first no, because we went on a little run when I got sent down with the Wranglers, but we ended up losing a game and he like came in the locker room or on the road and like threw his bag in the middle of the locker room, like throwing stuff. And I was kind of just like, what the heck? I'm not saying anything for sure, but like one of the older guys like Wolfie, like enough. And that's when I was kind of like in my head, I'm like, man, this guy's so competitive. Like we were like first in the league. I was like a nothing loss. And I was like, man, this guy is so competitive. So a few times this year, when like maybe like I never thought he played bad in any game, honestly, but like I could tell if he didn't have a good one, he thought, or he didn't think he had a good one. I would tell the guys, I'd be like, watch this, Wolf, he's gonna have an unbelievable game next game. And I was like 100% on it, honestly. Like I knew exactly what was going through his head. It was like, I'm gonna be so good tonight, and like he just has that confidence. And yeah, back to what we talked about earlier, like that's a guy that has the confidence. And yeah, he's going to be a stud for a long time, and he knows it, that's his best trait for sure.
100%.
So and then like you just said, like Matty Coronado, he just signed a nice ticket there. Um, I used to ask all of our interviews this question, where are you getting Matty to take you for dinner in Calgary when you get back?
So we did. So my wife left for a little bit this year, so I was like, I had a week where it was just by myself. So I'm like, all right, I got to text the young guys. So like me, Maddie, and Zara, we had 3 games at home. We went to Joey's every night. I'm like, dude, can we like mix it up a little bit here? Like maybe not go to Joey's. So that's where those guys they eat at Joey's, Cactus Club, and Earl's. That's their rotation. So we gotta get them out a little bit more because
So
Calgary's got some
where
great.
would you take him in Calgary? Like where's your go-to?
So there's this. So I mean, obviously, Major Tom's great, like good scene, good food. Um, Luca's good if you want pasta, the Italian place.
Was that the video you guys did with the like you guys all went there and then the owner was interviewing you
Oh
there?
no, that was Mercado.
That's where it was. Yes.
Mercado. That's where we eat pregame. Yeah, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
I mean, Mercado is really good. Yeah, that's a great spot. There's a place next to Mercado though, like kind of like hidden gem that me and my wife liked. It's a Japanese Italian place. It's on Fourth. I don't know. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. Right next to Mercado, Japanese Italian, unbelievable food. Yeah, so we gotta get those guys to branch out a little bit more next year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, Kevin. Well, we appreciate the time you gave with us. It was about an hour, so or around that part. So thank you so much. Obviously, continued success going forward, and hopefully we see you back wearing the Sea of Red and representing that 21 Rune Dog jersey. And all the best to you and your family too. So it means a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. It was a long time coming. I was pumped to be able to finally be able to get on here and talk to you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll get you on again. There's lots more to talk about, so.
Yeah, we got more. We got another part 2 we'll have to do.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Have a good summer, buddy.
All right, sounds good. You guys too.